talent manager. She's a HR consultant, talent manager, and organizational development expert. She is a human-centric HR professional on a mission to transform organizations and help them see, treat, and grow their people. Fantastic. She believes that the organization's greatest competitive advantage isn't only the technology or the business strategy or the budget, but also the people. With deep expertise in talent management and organizational development, Ada Samuel brings a proven record of sourcing, recruiting, and onboarding top-tier candidates across diverse industries. She's a passionate advocate for employee engagement, and she takes pride in fostering workplace culture that empower individuals to reach their full potentials. She has served in various roles as relationship manager, public interface officer, head of administration, human resource consultant, and combines all of this with HR technologies to deliver cutting-edge solutions that addresses real organizational challenges. Hmm, fantastic. Whether she is growing a startup, whether you're growing a startup or scaling an enterprise, Ada Samuel helps you put people at the center of every decision because that is where the results are born. I think it's going to be an amazing session. Good morning, Mrs. Ada Samuel. Are you there? Are you here with us, ma'am?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. I've been looking at this profile and I'm wondering when will I ever catch up? Please, how did you do all these things?
Oh my God. Catch up indeed. Well, the thing is, it's passion for me. It's passion for me, because for everything or anything we do, machines are not the one doing it. It's the humans who do it. Even with the AI in vogue and everything, we still need the humans to program the AI. So humans are at the center of everything. So if we look after the humans, every other thing will fall into place. So
Hmm,
that's it for me. Yes.
fantastic. I look
Good
forward to your
morning.
insight this morning. Yes,
Yes.
there you have it. I'm stepping aside for our first speaker, Ada Samuel, PHLI. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, Okay. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. I will start by sharing my slides. So if you can see my slide, please let me know, maybe with a thumbs up. Can you see the slide? Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so I've been already introduced. Thank you so much for joining in today. Like always, like I said, I'm passionate about people. I'm passionate about people because I believe the greatest asset any organization or establishment has is its people. And so anything that concerns the people, call me in and I'm there. So I'm going to be taking us to this topic, a very interesting one, because I believe if you have an organization or an establishment, you have heard the word Gen Z, whether in the positive, whether in the negative, but we all would know that there's a generation called the Gen Z. So I'm going to be saying some things, that might make you feel uncomfortable, right? And I need to say that because discomfort is exactly the point we're trying to drive home today. Okay. So, and like we say, Gen Z, I'm not here to say Gen Z is the future. You know why? Because they're already here. Gen Zs are already with us. And so everything we need to know about them, we have to get to start knowing it as, as it comes. So, who are the Gen Zs? But before we go into the main topic, right? Gen Z mirror. So the Gen Zs are holding up a mirror to us. And it's what the new workforce is forcing Africa to confront. The Gen Z generation, the people born between 1997 to 2012. Okay? So I'd like us to look at this. What if Gen Z isn't the problem? So surveys say, Gen Zs are entitled, Gen Zs are lazy, they are disloyal, they are very hard to manage, all sorts, and they don't respect authority, all those kind of things. Then the most annoying one is that they leave their jobs even without notice. Once they just feel that it's toxic, they're out of the job. So I've heard all of these things. And even me, I have said it at some point because it was like they were beginning to give us a headache in the workplace. We've had all the generations, the bloomers, the millennials, the X, all of them, coming, and we really didn't face this kind of tension in the workplace. But then the Gen Zs arrived, and it was like, everything we didn't used to do or we didn't know we could do, we began to see it in the workplace. And it's a reality that is staring us, right in the face. But then my question is, what if Gen Z isn't the problem? What if? Because we're always saying they're the problem, with all of the things I've said. What if they aren't the problem? Okay? Because the truth is that they are the first generation who are brave enough to refuse to pretend that everything is okay in the workplace. That's the truth. The Gen Zs would never pretend. If they feel that the place is toxic, they're going to speak up to say, this place is toxic. We need to do something about it. But then it's like when they say these things, we are triggered. Why? I'm a millennial, you know, I'm a millennial. So my generation is quite different. But the Gen Zs are way, way more outspoken than, we, the millennials. So if you have a mirror, right, and you look into the mirror and you don't like what you see, what would you do? You have two options, either to smash the mirror or what? You try to adjust what you're seeing in the mirror to what you want to see it, isn't it? Exactly. Because a mirror would only show you who you really are. A mirror doesn't have a filter. Like now we have all the filters on different apps. A mirror doesn't have a filter. A mirror is garbage in, garbage out. So that's what the Gen Zs are here. So the Gen Zs are our mirror. They are the ones, they are showing us, they are the mirrors to show us who we really are. That's really what the Gen Zs are here to do. So in 45 minutes, I'm going to be taking you through, the list of these things. And it's 45 minutes and we're going to hit it straight into it. So today we're going to be covering who the Gen Zs really are in the workplaces. And then I'm going to be taking you into the scripture, because whatever is happening in this generation or whatever is happening now has happened before. So we're going to be linking that Bible principle to what we're facing now with the Gen Z generation. Okay? And then we're going to also be holding up 4 mirrors they're holding up to you. I'm going to be showing you the 4 mirrors the Gen Zs are holding up to us. Like I said, it's the Gen Z's mirror. And we're going to have an honest reckoning. So it's not going to be just a session where we're going to be nodding and saying, okay, okay. It's going to be a session of, deep reflection. We're going to do inner work, and we're going to stop blaming the mirror. We're going to look into that mirror and actually own what we see. Okay? The Gen Zs, they're not the problem. They're actually a symptom that reveals the problem. Okay, so let's get right into it. So first of all, we're going to start with who the Gen Zs are in the workplace. They're a very special set of people. I like to call them that because they are very special. So they were born in the years between 1997 to 2012. And they were not just born in this age. They were born with internet in their faces, social media staring them in the eyes, a lot of things. They were even born during the part of the pandemic that locked them down, for their early work years. So they were not just born, they were shaped by the experiences, that happened around the time of their birth. And then statistics goes to show, that by 2030, 60% of our workforce will be what? The Gen Zs, right? So it's not that it's a future problem. No, the Gen Zs are here. They are already here. And they are here to what? Stay. So if by 2030, 60%, that is almost all the workforce will be Gen Zs. It means whatever it is we feel that we need to do, we need to start doing it what? Now. And again, the Gen Zs are 3 times more likely than the millennials to leave a toxic job in 90 days. That's exactly the probationary period. Imagine that. So as you are trying to check them out to confirm them, they are also, on the other hand, checking you out to confirm you. So you're checking them. Do I confirm you as the full-time staff? And they're also checking you out to say, okay, do I actually confirm you as my employer of choice? So it's a two-way street now. It's not only you doing the probation. You are also under probation with the Gen Zs. So in 90 days, as small as 90 days is, they would definitely sign out. And why are they doing that? People say because they are so weak, they don't have resilience, they don't, they cannot just stand pressure. And I'm sorry to share, but the truth is that the Gen Zs, they value their time a lot. They value their time a lot. They know that their time is their money in there. They're putting in their time. They need to see the reward of what their time is being spent on. Okay? And the thing about it is that the Gen Zs also have watched their parents sacrifice their time, loyalty. They've stayed loyal for years, and still they're looking at what did they actually get out of all of those things they did. And it's like it's like they've taken an oath to say, okay, I saw my parents go through this, stay loyal to a company for 35 years, probably retired from there, and really there's nothing, to show for it. And they're like saying, okay, if my parent did that, I don't think this is a path I want to take home, because this is not just about, it's not entitlement per se, it's not. It's called pattern recognition. They have seen how it had played out over the years. So basically, this is even intelligence, because a speaker once said that if you keep doing something the same way repeatedly, that is what? Madness. But they've chosen to say, okay, I have seen this part play out. However, I am not ready to go on this path. So these are people who have walked through the path and they don't want to follow that path. They actually would want to follow another path. So I'll give you an example. Imagine a young person who just got a job maybe 6 months ago, and then your parent calls you up, calls him up and he says, Mommy, I've resigned, and you're like, imagine how the parents, our usual African parents, would be like, no, you mean you resigned, but you just got this job 6 months, I'll be 8 months ago, and you're resigning. Oh my God, what kind of shame is this? Da, 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 da. And you're asking, okay, what happened? Why did you resign? And he's telling you that, okay, I did something wrong, and my manager scolded me in front of everybody, and I just couldn't take it, and I walked off. And I'm sure everybody's like, no way. Your manager screamed at you. And then the mother is like, the family, or the mother, the father is like, hey, but me too now. They screamed at me, all through my working years. I worked for 35 years and that thing doesn't matter. And the young person is saying like, no, that would not be me. That would not be me. And the question is, who is really right in this situation? I'll leave you to answer that, okay? This generation is not broken. People say this generation, they've lost, their sense of identity, they've lost their self-respect, da, 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 da. The truth is that this generation, right, they're a product of watching us being broken. They've seen us being broken. They've seen us being battered. We did not speak up. We did not say anything. We thought it was, it was just the norm. And they have refused to toe that part. They have refused to toe the part. So let me take you into 2005 years, maybe 2,500 years ago, BC, into the time of the Nehemiah company. So like I said, I was going to take us back into scripture. And I wanted to tie it to what the Gen Zs are actually doing right now. So I'm going to tell us a story. It's about the story of King Artaxerxes. Artaxerxes, right? I always have a problem pronouncing that name. So Nehemiah was a cupbearer to King Artaxerxes. He used to serve him, wine, and that's what he was doing to King Artaxerxes. And so it was a very prestigious position, in that time for you to be a cupbearer. Like you were worthy to hold the king's cup to serve him. And he used to serve him wine and all of that. And his job was basically to be like a quality assurance officer for anything the king would eat or drink, right? So if they brought any food or drink to him, it was Nehemiah that was going to test it to be sure there was no poison or whatever inside the food. And so one of the days he was coming to, serve the king, his face was actually downcast, like he looked, battered and beaten and all of that. And so the king, when he came to serve the king noticed, that appearance on his face and was like, oh, what is going on? Like, Nehemiah, you're not usually your, bright and bubbly self. What's going on? And Nehemiah opened up, and said his heart was really heavy because of his people. His city, Jerusalem, was laid in ruins, and he just couldn't be happy because of his people were in danger. And the king was like, oh, really? And, he was just so, touched by what Nehemiah was saying, and he said, okay, fine. So what would you want me to do? Like he asked Nehemiah, because, and Nehemiah said he would like, for him to allow him go home, and he rebuild his city's walls and all of those things. And the king said, okay, even gave him some, assistance in terms of people and resources for him to go and build, his Jerusalem's walls. So with the king and Nehemiah, the king did not wait for Nehemiah to submit a leave request, right? He didn't wait for Nehemiah to do like a presentation on why his face was downcast. Now, first of all, let's note that in those times, in the times of Nehemiah and King Artaxerxes, when you're coming into the king's presence, you're supposed to come in looking all, put together, steez and composure on check. You were not even supposed to come in looking the way Nehemiah was looking. But then Nehemiah was burdened. Do you understand? He was burdened and he came in looking that way. And the king acknowledged the way he was looking. It means the king was emotionally aware of his subject. He looked at his face. He looked at his face, emotional awareness. He didn't need him to write a letter or send an email or, he just looked at his face. So even before Nehemiah even spoke, the king already saw that he was troubled. You see, the thing is, the difference between the king and any other, person is that leadership that notices their people, they actually would unlock the purpose of why they are there, the purpose of the business, even the purpose behind why the staff is even in your place. But then how many organizations do we work in that walk past, quiet team members every day and never even ask? You just ask, okay, what's your performance review? It happens in 6 months and you're doing a performance review, even while the person had already made up his mind to leave. And then maybe after your performance review, in 2 months, the person quits. Do you understand? And because we're not paying attention, we are not paying attention. We are not what? Paying attention. The king just didn't want people to serve him. He wanted the people to serve him to be okay with serving him. So he was constantly aware of how they felt, what they looked like, their body language, everything. He paid attention to that. And that was why he could realize that his subject was not doing well. So let me tie this Nehemiah story to the Gen Zs of the generation now we have ourselves. The Gen Zs are actually doing exactly what the king and Nehemiah are doing, right? So what's the connection? Nehemiah first told the story before even his mouth spoke. Do you understand? His face told the truth. He couldn't hide it. His face told the truth. It's the same thing with the Gen Zs. Their behaviors tells the truth. Even before HR runs an exit survey. Their behavior, their silence in meeting, when they speak up about things, they're already telling you what is wrong with the system. They're already telling you. But are we listening? And even when we hear them, because it's one thing to hear, the ability to hear is that you have ears. Sound goes in. So yes, you hear sounds. They are talking, you're hearing, but are you listening? Now, listening is ability to understand what the person is saying, even without them even speaking about it. And when we understand, do we do something about it? Because the Gen Zs, what they really want is accountability. You say it, they hold you by it. If you're not doing it, then you breach the trust that they have in you. They are not the generation to say something and they don't do it and we say, okay, all is fine and well. It is well. It is well. Okay, we move on. It is well. No, you say something, they are going to hold you by it. They are holding you accountable. The Gen Zs, they demand accountability. King Artaxerxes, a question. Do we ask? Do we even want to know why they are doing what they are doing? Or do we just say, oh, they're just lazy? They're just lazy. They're just, people come into meetings, they don't talk. You are the only one talking. Yeah, because you are the CEO, you're the head of this, you're the only one talking. And when you ask them, what do they want to say? Do you have anything to say? And everybody say, no, 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 sir. No, I don't have anything to add. And you feel it's okay. Those are the signs. You don't need them to come and write an email to say we are this. If they are, because these are unusual behaviors, but are you paying attention? The Gen Zs, they have boundaries. And they have conversations about burnout. You're calling someone by 10 p.m. and they're telling you, oh, 10 p.m., I'll respond to it in the morning. And that is a trigger. But they're giving you visible signals, but we keep what? Ignoring it. We keep ignoring it. We call them names. Remember, we started with the mirror. They are staring us in the face. They are a mirror before us, showing us who we really are. And there are mirrors. And what does a mirror show you? Who you really are. So we think we know who we are, but these Gen Zs have come as a mirror before us to show us who we really are. We say they throw tantrums. No, they're giving you signals. These are signals, but are we paying attention? Do we have the emotional capacity to read those signals, just like King Artaxerxes read Nehemiah's? Do we have it? Or we just pretend that they're just making noise? Do you understand? So I'm going to go deep into the mirrors, okay? And we're not here to blame anybody or pass blame. We're just here to educate ourselves and actually tell ourselves what? The truth. These are the 4 mirrors the Gen Zs are holding up to us. And like I said, the Gen Zs didn't create the wounds. They just refuse to help us hide them. We've gone on and on and on and on and on, and we feel everything is okay, but they are holding up these 4 mirrors to us. Excuse me. So the first mirror is silence as culture. The second one, silence. It just means don't question anything, just keep quiet. That's the culture. And these rules may be spoken or unspoken. Then we have the second mirror, which is overwork as identity. We own doing more than we can take. We glory in it. The third mirror is loyalty without reciprocity. We're just being loyal, but we're not getting anything back. And we don't even want to ask. And the fourth is mental health as weakness. See, every mirror is going to be uncomfortable. Trust me, it's going to be uncomfortable. But that's the point. Like I said, I'm going to say some things that will make us uncomfortable. But the earlier we face this, the better for us. We can no longer go on and pretend like these things, they do not exist. They do exist. And like I said, the Gen Zs they don't want to help us hide it anymore. They're like, no, we have to talk about this. This thing has to change. And when I keep saying in the African context, I'm not disputing the fact that it happens in every other context. But because we're in a Pan-African webinar, I'm just pointing, to the African workforce. Because somehow, as Africans, we really have a culture of the silence culture is predominant. When an elder says something, if you question it, you're going against authority. You don't ask questions. Once a person in authority has said something, you just go with it. In fact, they tell you jump, you just ask how high. You don't even ask, okay, where are we jumping to? You don't even look around to say, is this place even comfortable for me to jump? And maybe there are stones around or there are, sharp objects. You just do as you are told. But the Gen Zs are here to say, no, we're going to question, we're going to ask questions because we want to know why. Because even us, we even tell ourselves, there's always a why. What is the reason behind what you are telling them to do? See, if you have a problem with the why question, when you're asked, you give like an instruction, and then someone asks you why, and you become triggered by that why, then there's a problem. There is honestly a problem with you and not even the person, because why should why trigger you? Because for everything we do, there must be a why we do what we do. Excuse me. Excuse me. So the silence thing is not even about the organization. Most times it's about protecting the people in authority. Don't question your manager. You ask something, oh, why do we do this in the organization? That's how we came and met it. Just go ahead with it. Why? I'm even asking that question now. Why? That's how things work around here. Why? Why do things work around here like this? Why? You're just too young. Don't worry, you understand. No, they're not too young. They have a brain. They have a brain. They can understand it. Just the way we say children, babies, they have a brain. They can understand it. They may not be able to express, but they understand it clearly. Most times I feel that when people get triggered by a why question, whether as parents, whether as organization, people in authority, it's because you don't really have an answer to that question, to the why. You yourself, you don't even know why. So they're asking you a question you can't even answer. So it's like throwing you off balance. But you see the Gen Zs, they will ask the why. They will ask it out loud. No matter where, be it on the group chat, be it on Twitter, be it on social, they want to know why. Even in the exit interview, they will still ask. So the earlier we know the why behind what we do and better know how to give them a response, the better for us. Right? So I asked somebody, like I was speaking to some of my HR managers, right? And the complaint they always ask is that they always ask too many questions. You know, the Gen Zs, you tell them to do this, they're always asking you questions, they tell them to do this. But then when we say clarity, they say clarity comes by asking. My people in Igbo will say that the person who asks more questions, right, would never miss their way. So why do we really have a problem with them asking these questions? Why? Why? They have to know. They need clarity. They need to know why they are doing what they're doing. And it even helps them even commit even better to what they're doing. Because if the why of a thing is known, then the abuse of purpose would not be it. You would totally, exclude, misuse of purpose, because the person understands, okay, this is why I'm doing something. He aligns himself to that vision and can properly, comfortably communicate that vision, because now he's in alignment. He knows why I'm doing it. It's not because they say I should do it. Imagine the other person saying, why are you doing this thing? They say I should do it. Oh. As opposed to someone who says, why are we doing it? And this person tells you, oh, we do this because we do this, and explains it clearly. Who do you think would drive that vision more? Someone who has clarity into the why that thing is being done. Let's move to the next one. Overwork as identity. Overwork. Overwork. We glory in our business. We take honor and pride. There is no form of rest. You say, we even now boast about it. I stayed up all night doing, I was just walking. I didn't even sleep. I even slept for 1 hour, and see, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. You must make sacrifices. Sacrifices are what? Inevitable. If you want to be the best in whatever you're doing, sacrifices are inevitable. But then let's not make it that it now becomes a norm, in the sense that it is a constantly repeating thing, especially when it's not a thing of urgency. Do you understand? Like, I want to do something. I want to pass my exams now. It is my call to say, okay, I'm going to stay up late. I'm going to give up my sleep. I'm going to give up, my maybe hanging out with friends, to stay up to do these things, because I know what I want to achieve. But not make it seem like if somebody says, I want to take a rest, then the person is a lazy being for saying he wants to take a rest. Do you understand that? So there has to be a balance. There what? Has to be a balance. For many of us, we tie our output to us, our sense of worth to the number of how busy we are. Yeah, that's the word. We tie our sense of worth to how busy, you say you stayed all through the night. However, are you actually productive in that busyness? Because it's not just about being busy, it's about productivity. What exactly are you churning out? So I mustn't be doing something every time to know that I'm actually being productive. And if I say I want to take a rest because I have maybe locked in my 2 hours and I got my work done in 2 hours and I decide to take the other time off and it feels like, no, you're supposed to just be doing something. Like at every time you're supposed to be doing something. I think we should be more focused on productivity. The Gen Zs are very articulate with their time. So for them, they made rest a form of resistance. Do you understand? Once it is time to clock out, they put in their time. And I work with a lot of Gen Zs in my organization as we speak. I work with a lot of Gen Zs. There are people who, when they lock in, they do productive work in the shortest time possible. And when they say they are locked in, that's their word. They say I'm locked in. They want to make sure that in this particular time frame, I am doing what I'm supposed to do, and I'm doing it when I want to do it, and I'm getting everything done at this time, and they do it. So you may not see a Gen Z who is staying in the office from morning till 5. They may stay till 5, but if they've done what they have to do for that day at that locked in hour, and they get on to doing other things, because the Gen Zs are multifaceted, they are doing a lot of things at the same time. So their time is of value to them. Do you understand? And so when they do what they have to do, and maybe at 5, they've locked out at 5, and then you're calling them at that 5 and they don't respond. Maybe you're calling somebody at 10 p.m. and maybe they don't even respond. Or even when they respond, they're telling you like, okay, I would see to this by 8 a.m. in the morning. And then we are triggered because they said they're going to see to it by 10 a.m. in the morning. Now, come to think of it, that thing is not an emergency. It's actually not an emergency. So it means that thing can wait. But because we've had business as a badge of honor, everything is deemed an emergency. Everything is deemed an emergency. So it comes off to us like, what do you mean? I sent you a task and you're telling me you're going to wait till 10 a.m. And they're like, yes, I've seen what you're doing, but it is not like, I mustn't do it now. I would get it done at 8 a.m. Even by 10, I would get that work done. So why do we have a problem with that? Do you understand? So we did not build resilience in our organizations. That's something we did not do. We actually built exhaustion, and we called it dedication. If you're not exhausted and burnt out, then, my dear, you're not committed. You're not dedicated. You're not doing your work. You must be burnt out. Do you understand? So the Gen Zs, they're not saying they don't want work. However, they are not going to burn out because of the work that they do. No. They want to do productive work and doing it, paying attention to themselves. So most times when we overwork, it was never a sign of love for the organization. For us, who in that generation, it was never a sign of love for the organization. It was just a fear that without doing this, it will be like we're not doing enough. They need to see you are doing something, you stay up late, it's just fear. Because if we look deep into it, are we really doing productive work? So the Gen Zs are telling us, no, we need to live up to this. And the next mirror, like I said, this is a mirror. So as you're looking at this mirror, you're looking at yourself. A mirror is in front of you and it's telling you who you really are. Loyalty without reciprocity, pardon me. So now they are staying in jobs. The job should be directly proportional to what they're giving. But most of us, we stayed in bad jobs for years because of out of fear. We don't know what we're going to do. What is there? What is outside? So we endured toxicity. We endured disrespect. We never even negotiated. They will tell us you should be grateful. People out there don't have jobs, and you have a job, and you want to. No, sorry, pardon me. And you should be happy that you have a job. We don't think about our family. We put it before our jobs. I'm not saying you love your job. Love your job. Yes, love what you do. But then that job should also love you for you. So with the Gen Zs, they're like, okay, I come in to do my best and I'm giving you my best. However, you said you're going to provide HMO, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, but then it's still stories over again. So they leave. They're like, okay, you're not saying what you're going to do. See, the Gen Zs love honesty and accountability. If you can stay accountable to the Gen Zs, you've won their heart. They are going to stay loyal to you, because what people say most of the time is that Gen Zs are not loyal. Trust me, they are loyal. For the fact you stay accountable to what you have said you're going to do, you've got the Gen Zs. So sometimes they leave, and then it triggers us. You're like, look at this small boy. You've not even started life. You've already left. But then what is even triggering us is not that they left. Is that even when we had all this disrespect in our times, we didn't have the freedom. It felt like we didn't have the freedom to leave. But they now are saying, actually, you did have the freedom to leave, but you chose to stay. Now, let's move on to the next one. Mental health as weakness. I know this one has been abused. Yes, I would not put that fact past this. Every small thing, my mental health. But come to think of it, the Gen Zs actually got us to understand what mental health actually meant, taking care of our mental health. Because like the overworker's identity, you see people slumping on their jobs because we don't even know when to stop. We don't know when to pause. We don't know when to say, oh, I need to take some time off. Why? Because of that fear of, oh, I will lose the job. People out there are looking for jobs. Me, I have a job. So you keep grinding. You keep grinding. Gen Zs are not weak. They are actually very strong people intellectually. Skill-wise, they are very productive. See, if you work with Gen Zs, you will enjoy working with them because they are people who want to innovate. How do we make this thing better? How do we make it faster? I don't understand this thing for 10 hours. How do I make it 2 hours? Someone said something that really makes me laugh most of the time. He said, laziness actually brings innovation. They said the most laziest people are the people who actually bring innovation. And as funny as it sounds, it's actually true. Because they are so lazy, they always look for something a way better for them not to, exert that pressure or energy on that work that it makes them seem lazy. So I guess. So for them, they actually understand what their mental health is. They cannot be spoken to anyhow. You cannot, because we live in jobs that, people are called sorts of names. Your confidence is being trodden upon. You don't even know who you are anymore because of the kind of toxicity you've received. And then you are just taking it in because there is no other job, isn't it? There is no what? Job. You should be grateful you have a job. You should be what? Grateful you have a job. That's what they tell us. You should be grateful you have a job. But then the Gen Zs are saying, no, if I'm not okay, I'm going to speak out. And there's nothing wrong in speaking out about it. Take some time off if you need to. If you need to, take some time off. Okay? So that's who the Gen Zs are. Now, we've gone through 4 of these things. But my question to you now is, these are 4 mirrors, right? 4 mirrors. Which of them is the hardest for you in your organization to face? And it's something you need to face honestly. Apologies. You need to face it what? Like you need to be honest about it. So I want you to put in the comment section, which of these mirrors is the hardest for you in your organization at least? Because as I was talking, I believe you're seeing yourself through this mirror. Have I encouraged silence as a culture? Is overwork now my identity, my organization, whether spoken or spoken, you're looking through it. So drop in the comment section, which of these mirrors is the hardest for you to face? I'd like to, because it's a time of inner reflection, and it's going to only make us even work better. Because the truth is that the Gen Zs are taking over the workforce, whether we like it or not. So the question is, how prepared are you to have these people work with you? Do you really want to be productive? Do you want? So that is what is going to make the difference. We cannot avoid them. You cannot not but work with them. It is something you have to do. So you need to prepare yourself, your organization, and everything around you to be able to work with these ones, because honestly, they are the easiest people to work once you have the accountability in check. Okay? So whatever you have in your mind you voted for, awareness is where the change begins. Tell yourself the truth. This is what I'm going to work on. This is what, most of us are saying mirror 2. Wow, woo, interesting. Mirror 2, honestly, it just shows you what exactly we are dealing with. Overwork as an identity. We are carrying it on our head. Yes, I work from 10 to 10, 12 to 12, I don't sleep. So what's the call to action today? Basically, is to stop blaming the mirror. We've seen it. We've seen it, even we've identified it by ourselves. Stop blaming the mirror. Do the inner work. And see, this is not a strategy session. It's not something you do in 6 months. As you're leaving from this meeting, sit with yourself and do these things. Audit your unspoken rules. List 5 things everyone on your team knows, but nobody says out loud. We know it. We know it. We know it. Let's be honest with ourselves. We know it. And that list is actually what the Gen Zs will react to, honestly. Then create one space for honesty. See, the hardest form of leadership is to listen gracefully to hard things. See, if you're able to accomplish that, when they say things that you don't want to hear, but see, that's the healing you need for your organization to thrive. They will come up with things they are not okay with. And please make sure there are no consequences, real conversations, and there are no indictments because I said it. So this is what will happen to me. Make sure that it's a safe space for them. Then start with yourself. Do an inner work. What Gen Z triggers in you? See, anything that a Gen Z does that triggers you back is data for you. Why is it that when Gen Z say, oh, you're calling me by 10, you're upset, this 10 p.m. Honestly, you yourself, do you like to be called at that time? So it's inner work for ourselves, okay? It's something you need to sit with yourself and say, that trigger is data. You need to know, where is this coming from? Why am I being triggered from? And that's the only way you can help yourself. So I'd like to end with this. The Gen Zs didn't create the wound. What the Gen Zs are just here to do is what? To help us unmask the wound. That's what they're here to do. They are just exposing what we have hidden and enjoyed for so long. And we've owned it with our full chest. See, one thing we should know is Gen Zs are not asking for us to be perfect. No, they are not. They're just asking for us to be honest and accountable. That's all. If you can be honest and accountable, trust me, the Gen Zs will be the best work buddy you would ever have. Okay? So now, that's what I just want to end with. I want us to go and look into the mirror and tell ourselves the real truth. And that's where the healing will begin, and we'll have great workplaces with great people who will thrive. God bless you. Thank you so, so much for the time.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. I see that the chat session is buzzing. It looks like you have unleashed all the HR practitioners. They are all over themselves. I don't want to say
Oh
they are
my
fighting
God.
themselves, but it looks like every HR professional has woken up. I can see
Yes.
a lot of HR professionals. So I'm going to ask a quick question. Where
Yes,
then
please
does
go ahead.
emotional intelligence come in managing Gen Zs at the workplace? Where does emotional intelligence come in?
Fantastic. So most times, right, I would like to start by saying emotional intelligence is your ability to understand emotions, your emotions and that of the next person. So now the things with emotional intelligence with the Gen Zs, because it's also going to, I'm going to answer it in two ways. So if you're being triggered, sometimes we as millennials, we have been trained to be very courteous, like we don't question authority and all of those things. And we feel we have emotional intelligence. However, do you know that these Gen Zs have more emotional intelligence than us? Because one is that they actually read the room and they tell you exactly how it is. For us, we read the room, but we tell it how it is they want it to be. So that's why we are being triggered by that. So we see the room, we know what it is, but we're not going to call it black or white. We're going to say it the way we want you to say it. So the Gen Zs, emotional intelligence, they are young, yes, but that's where our leadership comes in for us to guide them emotionally. They are still built in because for them, it's like they don't have sensors, they don't have sensors at all. So that's where we come in. So we're not there to silence them, but we're there to guide them on how to even express these emotions in the right way. So even when they come off as being rude, you're not telling them, shut up. You're telling them, oh, I see this. You're angry about this. However, if you're angry about this, this is how you should go about it. So we are the ones to guide them to emotionally regulate themselves and grow that emotional intelligence to be able to speak and know how to speak.
Amazing. I see a lot of things in the chat room.
Oh, yeah, they said
Um,
Gen Zs have abused the mental health mantra. Honestly, yes, they have. Like I said it when I was presenting, I said they are one of them who has, abused that. And it's yes, they have, but come to think of it, like I said, they prioritize productive work. Gen Z's prioritize productive work up to more than hours of work. For us, it's hours. You stay in the office 9 to 5. Even if you're doing one document, just stay there till 9 to 5. But they prioritize productive work. So what am I dishing out? What is the outcome? What is the output? Do you understand? So if we can also help them with uh, regulation, because what I feel the Gen Zs need is direction and regulation, whether with their emotional health, thing, or even with the way they even express themselves or communicate their displeasure and all of that. We need to be the ones to guide them on all these things. Yes.
fantastic. Professor Kingsley, I see you. I guess your mouth is itching to contribute. Do you have anything to say, sir?
Well, just to say that Madam has done a very good job, and I'm impressed by what she has done. What she did basically is to just look at what the Gen Zs are and then use the principles to speak to us all. There are some of us who seems to have come before our time. We have a lot of the attributes of the Gen Zs. We ask why. And those things are seen as, oh, it's too forward, it's too sometimes stubborn because you want to say, no, that's not the way it is. Just because you have been doing it that way does not make it right. So what she has done is essentially to look at the peculiar attribute of the Gen Zs and then use it to speak to us all. Because even if you see that the story of Nehemiah, that was thousands of years ago. Aha. However, some of us, we still want to say that the Gen Zs could abuse a lot of things. Because sometimes when you say something is not an emergency, it's not an emergency for them, but it could be an emergency for the company because it could be a cascade of events that will occur. Opportunities may be lost for that thing that they think is not an emergency. So, and it's a balance. It's a balance that we must always also be ready to communicate with them even before they ask. One of the things I do in my organization is to do training consistently to teach them, to let them understand what is the direction of the company per time. And so it makes it easy for them to flow along without being obstinate. Thank you very much, Ada, for your session. I enjoyed it.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
so much. Thank you so much.
I can see Pastor Wenger. Pastor Wenger, you oversee a lot of people in your and mostly Gen Zs, if I'm not mistaken. In your interactions with the Gen Z, what has it been like, sir? Maybe there are some things we can learn from your experience.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The presentation was a reminder for some of us because, I mean, like you said, I deal with a lot of them. One part that stood up for me is the aspect of loyalty and reciprocity, right? Our own generation, we demand loyalty, especially we who work in the faith base, and we can Christianize it like you have to be, you have to be loyal and all that. But working with them, I found out that what elicit loyalty is the fact that they don't care how much you know or how long you've been in ministry or you've been in that industry. They want to know how much you care for them. How much, what's in it for me? I mean, if I don't, after following you, man of God, what is in need for me? Would I become a better person? If you're making progress, will my life become better? Will I become a better person? Are you the only one who get the opportunity to go for trainings abroad? Can I go with you at some point in my life? Would I be able to drive what you drive? And I mean, for we who are into the faith base, what I say is we must offer them that promise, and that promise must be real. And we can plot a graph that within the next 3 years, this is the next level you will be. Within the next 4 years, this is the next level you will be. Otherwise, we lose them. And for us, they can walk. It's even easier to walk away from a faith base, so it resonates well. And that's the part that I hold very strong. If you're going to ask for loyalty, there must be something tangible for the person in it. Sometimes it's not money. It might just be an opportunity. It might just be an opportunity. It might be a platform. It might be a connection. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I can see Madam Victoria Aye. Yes, you have a lot of young people under you. What has it been like managing them? Probably there's something we can learn from you. Are you close? Yes. Okay. Dr. Kuli, are you here with us, sir? Go ahead,
please
please.
Confirm you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say thank you to our dear facilitator. I think for me, the session was an eye opener because I'm currently managing about almost 1,000 Gen Zs in my company. I've been managing them since last year, and I'm going to manage them to like about between July and the end of the year. So there's just a lot of eye openers for me. And when she talked about the mirrors, and yeah, truly what she said is that that silence where you are saying you don't want them to ask questions. They are challenging some of the things that so because of these guys, a lot of times you have to go and look at policy. Not because we didn't have this policy, but they are challenging you on the policy. So if you're telling them go left, they're saying, why should I go left? You have to say, okay, first of all, our policy says you need to go left. And then the reason why you're going left, so they're challenging you even on your policies, right? And then something else I've also observed, which I am trying to manage in my work with them, is that because of their quest of trying to ask questions in the workplace, they are very quick to communicate. Most times they are communicating by mails, right? Which is an official means of communication. But I also found out, this is my own personal take, I also found out that sometimes what they are saying in the mail, it's not what sometimes they really mean. So I know ChatGPT is here to help us write emails. So sometimes they have written a very long mail to you, and you're trying to, okay, what exactly the person saying? So sometimes I also try to call them. And I'm like, okay, in this mail that you have written, what exactly do you want? And the person is like, okay, I want this. I said, but this is not what your mail is saying, But I think overall, the session is an eye opener for me because, just understanding why they're asking those why, and also looking at taking the concept of the mirror, the loyalty, the silence, the accountability. When trust that when you give them your word, you must walk by that word. In fact, there was something I was just feeling sad about because my bosses made me give them my word on something, and my bosses came and countered what I just gave them my word on something that is very important to them. And I'm just thinking, I can't do damage control because I'm a management staff. I can't go back and tell them this was not this was me. And my bosses gave me initial consent, but they have changed. But we'll see how we manage that. But I want to just say thank you for the session. It was really, really very insightful. Thank you. There's just a lot to learn from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution, Ma. Yes, how do we meet you, Ada? Where can we find you? Online, website, email, phone number?
You can reach me at my Instagram at the HR Lassie. I'll just type it
Okay,
in
can
the
you
box.
type it in the chat section, please?
Yes, I'll
Okay.
just do that quickly. Instagram is Ada Samuel. Yeah, the HR Lassie on Instagram. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was a pleasure
Thank you
sharing this
very
with
much.
you.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. Thank you so, so much. And many thanks to everyone who has contributed for this first session. Thank you so much. We will have a quick 30 seconds break just to ensure that our facilitator is on. He's ready. You can grab a cup of water. You can stretch so that we move into the next session. Quick 30 seconds break, and we'll be back soon in 30 seconds. Thank you so much. Facilitator. So let me read a little about him. He's a professor of addiction and social and rehabilitation psychiatry in the Department of Psychiatry, University of Jos, Plateau State. He is consultant psychiatrist and the immediate past deputy CMAC Education and Training at the Jos University Teaching Hospital. He has a bachelor's degree in medicine, a Bachelor of Surgery degree from Obafemi Awolowo University, a master's in public health from University of Jos, and had special focus on stamina support for training and mentors Nigeria for academics. He's a fellow of the West African College of Physicians and has several certificates in leadership and management in health, implementation science, project management from the University of Washington. He joined the services of University of Jos in October 2012 and rose through the ranks of professor in October 2023. Professor Kingsley Okonoda holds responsible positions and membership of several national, regional, and international organizations. Quite a lot of them. That is how big and robust his CV is. Just quite a lot of them. I'm just scrolling and I'm saying, Kai, be like say we will do some brain transplants so that Professor will get some things inside my brain. Good morning, Professor Kingsley. How are you doing, sir?
Good morning, Obike Chima. How are you? It's good to be here.
I think it's best for professors to describe himself, because if I should look at all the profile, I'm asking myself, which one do I miss out? Which ones should I add? Just for someone who is meeting for the first time, who is Professor Kingsley Okonoda?
All right, so I would just say to give credence to my professional leanings, I would say I'm a professor of addiction, social and rehabilitation psychiatry. I am a human capital development strategist and I'm a financial therapist. I help people, individuals, organizations, and groups to achieve sustainable success, wealth, and health through consultation, counseling, therapy, training, and teaching. So essentially, that, and of course, rehabilitation, because I rehabilitate people with addiction and mental health issues and help them to even do better than when they were not even sick. Because a lot of people, like we say in local parlance, they just do anywhere belle face, even before they get sick. By the time they are leaving us, they should have purpose and direction and focus and live the optimized life. Yes.
Thank you so much, Professor. We can't wait to enjoy your session. I'm
Okay.
stepping aside for you to take over, sir. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. And I once again want to thank Ada Samuel for the good job she did with the Gen Z issues and all that, which has also uh, helped us to see ourselves in the mirror, areas that we're going to adjust and all that. All right, so in a few minutes, I'll be talking about the optimized leader. Like Obike Chima said, to myself, what am I going to say to this group of people, highly intelligent people who have been able to um, create industries, organizations, captains of industries, and all that. And I looked at it, I said, okay, leadership is that one thing that is important for any industry, for anybody, either personal leadership or organizational leadership or group leadership and all that. And so we're going to be talking about the optimized leader. The rider is mastering mind, money, relationships, and execution for sustainable success. All right. So, because of my work as a professor of addiction, social and rehabilitation psychiatry, a consultant, that means I'm a clinician, not just an academic. And then, of course, I have what we call Network Consult, a human capital development organization. And in recent times, I've been using my knowledge of psychotherapy to help people in financial problems and all that. One of the things I've noticed is that many people like to succeed. They focus on the mechanics of success, the outside issues, but they neglect the internal systems that sustain success. And somebody say, unless you lead yourself, you will not be able to lead others. And so I decided that, okay, let's talk about the optimized leader. That internal system that will sustain success. How do we evolve it and lead ourselves before we can lead others? And today I'm going to be talking using two models that I've been working on in recent times. One is the restoration of mind system, that's framework, and then the life optimization cycle model. This one flows into the other. One seems to be like the theoretical framework, while the other one is the execution of it. All right, so we discover that successful people who have a retinue of things that they have achieved, they still struggle because it is possible to build company and yet not build oneself. We see a lot of leaders who um, seems to have this kind of problem. You see that they will succumb to one frailty or the other because they have not built themselves. You can lead teams and yet they still have habits that pull them down. People can manage budgets but find it difficult to manage their emotions. People can influence crowds, influence people, and yet they still are ruled by impulses, some of them very dangerous impulses that put people down. People sometimes appear to be successful in the outside world, but this success is hid dysfunction in the inner world. And so we see that the greatest battle of leadership is often invisible. Poor emotional regulation, in addictions. Now, let me say this with this all sense of responsibility. Everybody talks about addiction to substances. It's very common, and everybody jumps around about it. But there are so many addictions that are not common. The non-chemical addictions, addictions to work. That's one of the things that Ada was talking about. We are busy, but is the busyness, is it translating to productivity? Addiction to digital addiction to the screen, phones, TV, and all that, addiction to pornography, addiction to sex, things like that. So these days now, people are always doing this. They call it gaming. So they are betting, they are borrowing money from apps, and so on and so forth. So there are chronic stress. People are almost always stressed, fatigued. So you see options and you don't know which one to take because the options are so many now, as against in the past where you just have one or two and it's easy to take decision. But now you have so many options in the face of technology, where whatever is happening anywhere in the world, you have it at your fingertip almost immediately. There could also be things like relationship breakdown, and it's not only romantic relationship. It could be relationship, work at work, boss, subordinate relationship, father-children relationship, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, this lack of structure, we can't overemphasize it. A lot of people have ideas, but those ideas never get to fruition because they lack structure. There is no process, there is no operations, nothing, no system. And of course, people have fear of failure. I tell people all the time, success, the equation of success is not complete without failure. If you have not failed, that means you have not been trying enough. But there are people who have fear of failure. Because of that, they don't ever step out. And of course, there's procrastination and executive dysregulation. There are so many people that have this executive dysregulation. You think in terms of as maybe laziness or fear or things like that, but essentially executive dysregulation. All right. So these are some of the main battles of leadership that people have. Now, introducing the restoration of the mind system is not any big deal. It's just to the effect that we must have intentional process of repairing and strengthening the mental and emotional system that drive behavior. So I say it all the time that something can be simple, but not necessarily easy. Simple may mean A plus B equals to C. But it may not be easy because there might be emotional issues, internal issues, external issues that are variables between that A and B that makes it difficult for you to execute. And so those are the mental and emotional systems. So we need to, and a lot of people are broken. A lot of people, okay, so you say that people are broken because something was there before that got broken. But a lot of people are empty. They are void. They don't even have any of those things before. And so the process of restoration of the mind system is to help people build this system thinking, the skills and the competencies that are needed to be able to have the requisite behavior to achieve success, and so on and so forth. And what do we do? So we renew people's thoughts, cognitive dissonance, things that they carry that are wrong belief systems of different types. And some of those belief systems are so common that they are the things that we think are common. They are the things that we think are normal. But we help people to renew those thoughts. Well, we also help people to manage their emotions and then give structure behavior. Sometimes all you need is to just structure the things and create a system that supports the person's ability to perform. So what does it mean to renew thought patterns? there are all limiting beliefs. All of us have them in different forms. For example, just like Ada was saying, I must overwork to prove my worth. That seems to be the mantra of our own generation. But we see that the Gen Zs are really not like that. And of course, people think that to rest is weakness. So they want to work and work even when they're not being productive. We need to look at some of these things and let people understand that the focus is not the work or the activities that you do, but the focus is the result that you get. And if you can get the result in a better way with rest and all that, it is better. So we audit those kind of limits. Sometimes in terms of money, people think that money is the solution to problems. One of the teachings I had at the time, I was telling people, money is not capital. Most times people will say, I don't have capital. And when they think about capital, they think only in terms of money. But people who know, we know that capital is beyond just money. Like I used to tell people, Network Medical Services and Rehabilitation Center, we established it with grants from the federal government UWIN program. And it was not, my capital was my training, my training as a consultant psychiatrist, and ability to put a proposal together and convince the panel. And they gave me the money. So money was not the capital. So a lot of people think money is the solution to every problem, but it could just be relationship. It could just be your attitude and so on and so forth. Or people who find it difficult to trust people. And when we get into the space of mental health, you know that inability to trust people is a mental health issue. And so, okay, there are people who may not be able to finish things that they start and so on and so forth. So these are some examples of limiting belief. There are myriads of them. When people come into therapy, we unravel them and we're able to help them replace such narratives with better narratives that supports their success. So some of the things that people need to ask themselves, what belief system do I have that is draining my potential? Are there people, are there places, are there circumstances and things like that drain my potential, drain my energy? What mindset is sabotaging my next level? And what story am I telling myself? A lot of people tell themselves stories. I know people who tell themselves that they are not good enough, or because they feel that one thing, they say they are not competent. And I say, no, you don't have the skill now. It doesn't mean that you could not go and learn what it takes to get the skill, you know? So these are some of the things that people need to know. Then, of course, we also help them to upgrade their mindset to now have the mindset of believe for them to be able to move forward. All right, so next thing is to now manage emotions. Manage emotions, because a lot of people don't have emotional regulation, and because they don't have emotional regulation, they destroy their own opportunities. For example, anger will destroy trust. Anger is one of those things that we need, outburst of anger. A lot of us have to work on those things because we may be competent, we may have a good heart, but sometimes outbursts of anger makes people to be afraid, to want to interact with us and things like that. So we must learn how to manage our emotions. We must learn how to manage fear so that we can take action and execute things. We must take pride, ego out of the thing. A lot of people have ego problems, so they are not learning from people that they should be able to learn from. People are not able to make calls on judgments, and some people are just so impulsive. So we must learn emotional regulations. We must learn how to be calm under pressure and respond rather than react. So you can see the RMS system. So the third thing is to structure your behavior, and this is where people have issues. I tell people intention and motivation is just like the Kickstarter. You must have structure, system. At the beginning of this year, we had what we call the system advantage. We had a series of trainings and workshops and all that to talk about systems. So you build systems. Sometimes the system is what just sustain you and your organization, your marriage, every sphere of human endeavor. Systems will help you. Now we are talking about the individual, the optimized leader. One of the first things that help people is morning routines. I said something a few years ago, and one broadcaster got across to me and played it on radio. Said even God Himself operates by routines. That's why you see 24 hours make one day, 7 days make one week, and so on and so forth. So how can we, who are mere mortals, think that we can just be haphazard? So you can have morning routines, meditation, exercise, thinking, and things like that. Strategic calendars where your days and your seasons, your month, everything is planned. So it makes it easy to be able to execute things. Of course, in terms of money, budget automation, where your money goes, where it goes into investment, it goes into spending and things like that. Meeting discipline, this is another one. People spend so long at meetings, but you can have meeting disciplines. You have a reflection time, schedule your exercise, focus. Then you must have an accountability system. Time will not permit us to go into details about each of this. It's just for us to know that this is what we do. So we help people to change their mindset in terms of the belief system, manage their emotions, and structure their behavior. And then, of course, to now put this into actionable things, we have what we call the life optimization cycle. And this one is a continuous framework for high-level living and execution. It helps you to execute. You could see the execution cycle that I have here. So you plan, you execute, you measure, and to see if things are working well. Then you can learn from the experience or learn, as the case may be. You can adapt, you can focus, and so on and so forth. And then the process of growth. You can see that growth cycle. So first thing here is to learn and lead yourself first. Learn about who you are, what you should be doing, where your energy should be focused, what you should delegate and what you should not delegate, and things like that. You should learn to lead yourself emotionally, in execution and things, and all those areas that make for success. And then, of course, to organize for results and then create, contribute, and compound. I will go deeper into some of these things. So, like Ada said earlier, it talks about the Gen Zs being a mirror for us. Self-leadership sees public leadership. So a leader must always lead himself first. So you must look yourself in the mirror and see where the faults are, adjust them. You must have self-awareness, self-discipline. You must have a process of auditing yourself and be honest with yourself. Oh, one of those things is the hard truth, just like she said earlier, and then you can face it. A cousin of mine told me something a long time ago when we were in the university. He said, no matter how palatable that thing may be that somebody has said to you, or you think it's unfair, look at it. If there's an element of truth in it, something to correct, something to change, something to improve, and then it will help. And then, of course, you must learn how to manage yourself. So leadership starts with self. Because we know that many external leadership problems are internal leadership problems in disguise. Like Ada was saying earlier, when people are triggered, it may be that it is touching a point of weakness in them. It's not really about the other person. Otherwise, if somebody says you are a fool and you know that you are not a fool, and the person is ill-advised or the person is the one displaying foolery, why should you actually be afraid? I mean, why should you actually be angry? Because I have a lot of patients, people with mental illnesses and all that have said some unsavory things to me, and I didn't get angry because I know it is the illness. So why shouldn't I be able to handle that in other people, if not that it has touched something, an ego problem that I've not been able to deal with, and things like that. So we must learn how to lead ourselves. Because if you cannot manage your time, your energy, and that's another thing, energy. Because energy is very important. Time is 24 hours. Everybody has 24 hours. And when we say we are managing time, we actually time management is actually self-management. But one area that people don't look at is energy. Conserve your energy at all costs. Don't give people the ability to drain your energy. Look at places or things or people that elevate your energy and be around them the more, rather than people that drain your energy. Attention, appetite, attitude, all these things are things that we must learn to manage and lead ourselves, because that you are a professor, you are a CEO, and all those things will not save you if you are not able to handle all these things. And then, of course, we must organize for results. We must be so organized. You can see here that we see the planning process, like a strategic session and all that. So you must convert your vision into outcomes with your team. And what you need to do is to set priorities in the world that we are today. I tell people the good is the enemy of the better, and the better is the enemy of the best. So if care is not taking, you focus on what you have been doing that is good, instead of prioritizing that which can give you the best outcome. If you don't plan and be strategic about it, and sometimes you want to micromanage, no, you must learn how to delegate. You must have the ability to plan. Your financial management is very important, both as an individual, as for your organization and things like that, and how to communicate. Some of the things we were talked about that were talked about in the Gen Z issue has also do with communication. And communication is a two-way thing. So the person that is communicating must be able to pass across the message. The person that is receiving it must receive it. And then there must be reflective listening, ability to know, to be sure that you have conveyed the right message and it has been understood the way it should be understood and all that. So active listening, all those things are part of the things that we need to learn and to organize as leaders. So, of course, we must also track our goals. Instead of being just busy, if care is not taken, you will just be busy throughout, wear yourself out, and then the outcomes will be minimal or zero. So we need to learn how to track our goals and results. And then C is to create, contribute, and compound. Legacy grows through contribution. That's the truth. Nobody can live in isolation. You must be able to contribute to your environment. And in fact, that is one of the things that happens in the issue of mental health. He said mental health is a state of well-being, which the individual is able to actualize his potential, cope with normal stresses of life, work productively, and make contributions to his or her society. So your legacy grows through contribution. Nobody lives in isolation. But the optimized leader must create value. So it is not just to be busy. They must solve problems. They must build people. The succession issues are there. Your life may be a reflection of how many people that have been built through interacting with you or coming in contact with you. Then you must be able to have a system. A few weeks ago, I had to travel. I was away for 2 weeks. So I couldn't have interaction with my team, both at the teaching hospital and at my own private facility. But what I discovered was that, in fact, for the 3rd week too, I had some both professional and personal issues that I couldn't even meet with them even at the 3rd week. But by the time I was meeting with them at the 4th week, I saw that the system that I've laid down just kept running. Things just kept going. I was so happy about it. So a leader must be able to leave system behind, as against before, when it will be as if once you turn your back, everybody will just be doing what it seems to be right in their own side. But that has changed. So you must leave systems behind that can run itself. So you must multiply impact, turn success into significance, so that things can outlive you. And then compounding through the process of consistency. So what you are consistent at compound. So if you are consistent at making people trust you, trust is compounded, and then that's how character is built. That's how you have influence beyond your own immediate sphere. All right. So now, what are the 4 pillars of optimized leadership? Now, there are many pillars of leadership that are beyond this, but for the scope of this discussion is to look at the 4 areas that we are talking about. So mind mastery, money wisdom, relationship capital, and execution discipline. So what are these? Mind mastery. I will have you know that your mind is the first business. Your business resonates through your mind. It is said that success in anything is 80% psychology and just 20% mechanics. But a lot of people like to focus on those mechanics. But even the mechanics, you will not be able to get if your mind is in disarray, not to talk of the psychology of it. So you must guard your mind. And one of the things I tell people, those people who have had interaction with me on a consistent basis will know that I believe that optimism will always triumph negativism anytime, any place. So it's even better to be unreasonably optimistic to save your mind than to just be saying you're a realist and you deal with too much negativity. And for Africans, negativity, well, it's not really just for Africans, it's just that we have so much of external locus of control that we think only in the negative. Even some of our worship songs are actually negativity that we are trying to overcome. When somebody is singing, says, I will never be ungrateful to you, Lord. Why are you talking about being ungrateful? Why don't you just talk about being grateful to the Lord? Okay, so we're always thinking in terms of negative, negative, negative. You need to overcome that. And then mental clutter. Oh, people who are multipotentates, we have this problem. You want to do this, you want to do that, you want to do this. But strategic planning and goal setting will help for you to know that it's not everything that you are good at that you should do, but you look at that which is the best, that give the best outcome with the least amount of energy expended and things like that. So it will help you. And of course, the issue of planning your day and all that will help to declutter your mind and all that. Not to talk of addictive habits. You must guard yourself from addictive habits. I've mentioned just a few the other time, and these things are very important. So some people are actually, the phone, our mobile phones seem to be one of the most dangerous things that is happening now. People don't sleep anymore. They expose themselves to radiation, and then they have problem. People have people around them they are not talking to, but they are talking to people miles away. So there is a presence, but no connection, no connectivity, nothing like that. So all these are addictive habits that may be destroying our productivity, may be destroying our mind. And of course, stress. I cannot go into stress issues now because it's a whole training and series of trainings on its own, but we must learn to guard our mind from this kind of thing. So what do we then do? We feed our mind with reflection, learning, quiet thinking. It is not lack of productivity for you to just sit sometimes and be quiet and just be ruminating. There are times in which I tell my loved one, I'll tell them, I just want to be. What are you doing? I just want to think. So have time to think is also an important thing. Of course, seek counsel, professional counsel, and maintain purposeful focus. So what's the second pillar? Money wisdom. So we can't go too much into money issues. We have trainings that talks about money, ethical money, and things like that. But suffice it to say that it is not how much you make first that matters most. It is how well you manage. It is from there that you can now talk about saving, investing, starting a business, and so on and so forth. So income without discipline will create pressure because if care is not taken, your wealth can actually lead to chaos. You may not know. It was somebody that was reputed to have said it that money was not the problem of Nigeria, but how to spend it. Today, we can still see that mindset that didn't know how to manage and spend money appropriately is still affecting us up to today. So how then do we optimize our finances? We must live below our ego. You see now, I didn't say live below our means or live within our means, below our ego, because it is always about an ego issue. You want to be like the Joneses. You say, oh, this is my status. Meanwhile, what really is the status? We know about Warren Buffett that have been reported to be living in the same house since in the 70s or thereabout. So live below your ego. Don't allow your ego to dictate how you spend your money. Then you must be intentional about spending. Everything must be budgeted for. Don't have spontaneous spending. Everybody has an issue. I used to tell people part of my own is books, paying for seminars. I have a lot of books that I buy, I bought, I've not read. So but sometimes you just have to tell yourself, it may sound like a good thing, but you may just spend beyond your means or beyond what you want to spend. So be intentional and be consistent at investing. Have percentage as your and things like that, what you use for your business and so on and so forth. And I tell people that the fastest way to become wealthy is slowly. So you must plan long term and avoid emotional decisions. What about relationship capital? Now, nobody rises alone. It's not possible. And opportunities actually travel through people. Now, when Obike contacted me to say, oh, will I want to speak at this point in this webinar today? Of course, I've not even met him face to face, but by virtue of interacting on the platform or through Sam and so on and so forth, I have the opportunity to talk to you now. Many of the things I've been able to do, including being Deputy CMAC. By the way, those of you who may not know, Deputy CMAC is like the third person. We have the CMD, Chief Medical Director. We have the CMAC, who is actually the Director of Clinical Services and Training. Oh, that's like the second in command. And then the Director of Clinical Services and Training has 3 offices according to the mandate of the teaching hospital. So I was in training and education. So I have sat in as the CMD for a whole week before. When the CMD was not around, the deputy CMAC was not, the CMAC was not around, and I had the 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 opportunity of being the one to make decisions for the hospital, of course, but still contacting them and all that. But the point I'm making is this: I got into that office, even though I'm a southerner, I live in the north here. It is people that recommended me, say, put in for this.
Professor Kingsley, can you hear us? Can anyone hear Professor Kingsley?
No, I think he's having network issue at the moment.
Okay. Let us know when you are back, sir. We lost you briefly.
Thank you very much. I noticed, I think it was network that just took me off. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
sir, we can hear you.
Can hear you.
All right. Okay. I don't know where you lost me, but this was where I was talking about relationship capital. Will that be okay if I continue here?
Yes, please, sir. You were mentioning something about your brief position as CMD.
Yes. So, like I said there, that it is relationship with people, the things that one has done, maintaining good relationship that was able to help me to gain that position, because, of course, you still have to, it was like a competition. You have to go through the Medical and Dental Consultant Association. They rate you and then they recommend to the board. You go through an interview. The long and short of it is that it is practically relationship that got me those kind of positions. So you must build relationship. And to build relationship, you must be a person that is trustworthy. Can people trust you? Can they say that you're a reliable person? Can they respect you? Do you have ability to communicate and collaborate and to influence people, because in with my colleagues, I just say, my name is Kingsley Mayowa Okonoda. I'm a professor of psychiatry. I will not, because everybody knows you are a doctor already, and all those kind of things. Instead of retinue of MBC, MBCHP, MPH, MSc, FWC, PC, all those things. A lot of titling your title. People are interested in your interest in their own well-being. That's what keeps them. So now the most important thing here is this. It's not about who you know, it's about who believes in you. So your real network, your real relationship capital be about who believes in you, who can trust you. When names are mentioned, where you are not, will they mention your name? And then number 4 is execution discipline. And this is where many people have problem. This is where many people have problem. They have ideas, they don't execute because of things like perfectionism. Some of us still battle with these things. Then fear, distraction, and that's it. I will have you know that distraction is just not about negative things alone. You can be distracted with good things. I remember a few years ago, some group of people came. They said they wanted to make me a champion of polio. I said to myself, I'm a psychiatrist. Even though I understand polio and everything, why would I be talking about polio at this point in time? I just told them, don't worry, I don't like any dilution and all that. Let me be more focused about the issue of mental health and so on and so forth. So sometimes the lack of system, you have good intentions, you are motivated. I tell people all of the time, especially doing treatment for addiction and all that, they will say, I made up my mind. I say, I don't have a problem with you making up your mind. It's only that you need to have a system, evolve a system that supports your recovery. But when they think that it's their willpower that will do it, they usually fail. So lack of system is also one of the things that make it difficult for people to execute. They don't follow through, and then they are not disciplined. So a simple way of looking at it is, what is the next right thing to do? Start small. I remember when I started walking consistently, it was very difficult, but I kept at it. Stay consistent, and then eventually you start seeing it becomes a way of life. And sometimes you need to adjust quickly to reappraise things and tweak a little things and all that, and then you need to stay faithful. So these are some of the things that will help you to execute. Then, now, I'll be rounding up very soon. What are the silent killers of greatness? What can make it difficult for you to be able to achieve greatness despite being a talented leader? But some of these things could be hidden addictions that we have said before. You can see that I'm saying it again. There's a reason why I love the issue of addiction. I don't like people being addicted. I love working to help people get out of addiction. All right. So because people talk about substance, that's the one everybody looks at. But there are people who are using work as an addiction. They are addicted to work, even when their families are jeopardized, when their health is jeopardized. Some people are so much addicted to people's approval. They want validation from people that they can run down themselves in the process. Digital addiction, I've mentioned it. Drama addiction. So we used to talk about drama queens, but maybe there are drama kings also, men who also like drama. And then another thing that can kill greatness is burnout, running fast without recovery, inability to rest, ego. So you don't want to get feedback because you are succeeding. Somebody is trying to point out your blind spot, but no, you don't want to have anything to do with that. You don't want to hear it. Anybody that gives you honest feedback, they are giving you constructive criticism. You say, oh, they are enemies of progress. and so on and so forth. No, ego will ruin greatness. And then, of course, isolation. Nobody can be great alone. Drifting, living reactively without direction. So anywhere below face. No. You must be strategic. You must plan, and so on and so forth. So now I have this to quickly help us. Daily optimization plan. One of the things we use in treating people with addiction problem is what we call 24-hour daily schedule. It is a schedule that plans everything. And like I've always said, that even God himself works within schedules and all that. And these days, I tell people I use something that I see from the book of Genesis that says, and the evening and the morning is the second day, and the evening and the morning is the third day, and so on and so forth. So I start the following day from the evening. When I'm winding down, I plan and think about what am I going to do first thing in the morning. Like me, sometimes I wind down around 9, I wake up around 3. What do I do before I go for my morning walk and all those kind of things? So that is planned from the evening. And so by the time you are waking up in the morning, some of the things you must do, you must think before you touch your phone. Because some of us have been so used to the phone that it's the last thing we drop. In fact, it is not as if we dropped it. It's sleep that carried us away. And then as we are opening our eyes, is the phone. No. We must take the phone away at least 1 hour before sleeping time so that the radiations and all that stimulates us not to be able to sleep well can go down. Then when we wake up in the morning, we think, how is the day going to be? What are the priorities for that day? What are the emotional people who are more active at night? But during the day, you must be careful to focus on high value work, and then avoid distractions, make quality decisions. By evening, you should review what you have done for that day. What are the lessons out of that day? Try to reconnect with family, because we spend more time at work than with family. And then when you are still with family, you want to be pressing phone, making calls. No. Be deliberate about connecting with your family and be deliberate about resting. And then on a weekly basis, you review how you have spent your money, your relationship, strategic planning. Health is very important. Many of us don't think about it that way, but we must. And then we do some form of reflection. If we do this on a consistent basis, you will see that we'll be more productive and will be that optimized leader. Some things you need to ask yourself: do you have habits that are limiting you? You might need to change them. What must I simplify? Are there things that you see that is becoming bogus and all that? Simplify. What deserves my best energy? This is one of the things I'm always telling myself, because I'm one of those people that when I see a need, I want to solve it. And by the time you want to solve things like that, you just spread yourself thin. So you need to tell yourself which one deserves your energy, rather than trying to do everything. You can't be everything to every man. So these are some of the things that we need to do with our optimized leader. So my final chat to you is to say that the world needs optimized leaders. Like you and I, we can be optimized leaders. So we need to restore our mind, lead ourselves, organize our lives, create value, build people. Build people. I cannot say this. Our president now, I don't know your political leaning. It's not important. What is important is that that man built a lot of people along the way, that when it was time for him, people were able to stand up to get him what he wanted. Good people. Master your habits. Don't be a slave to your habits. Guard your peace, and execute your vision. So in conclusion, I would say that when the mind is restored through the RMS framework and life is aligned through the LOC model, leadership becomes sustainable, process becomes meaningful, and impact becomes directional. Thank you very much. May your leadership continue to produce value, excellence, lasting legacy. can contact me through this way. Thank you very much. Over to you, Chima.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Professor Kingsley. Your talk has been keeping me curious, and I've been thinking around a lot of things, particularly the concept of anywhere belief is in our society in Nigeria. So I'm going to ask, sir, that I'm going to call it an attitude. Is it driven by fear that there's something I'm going to miss out if I don't shift my belly to that direction? Or is it driven by greed? There's more that I should gain if my belly is not faced in that direction.
Well, one of the things we need to know is that maybe an assumption if we say that is driven by fear or by greed until we interact with that particular individual.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, sir. I think network has thrown him out again. Oh, okay. But I believe that. Go ahead, please, sir. Go ahead.
Now, yes. All right. So until we interact with that particular individual, but on a general level, it is a learned behavior, that we learn subconsciously because that's what everybody is doing. So it also comes from the belief system that talks about scarcity. So you see that something. This is where resources are. Let me go and grab my own. Because you believe that resources. You don't understand the abundance that is in the universe. Where when you focus on your own area, the universe has a way of rewarding you there. But because of that scarcity mentality, that's why our politicians will also grab everything. So you too say this is where the direction is, where they are making money, you rush there. This is where you rush there. But when you are purposeful and you are planned and you know exactly what you are here for in this world, your vision and all that, you will follow it through. You will close your ears to whatever is going on the other side.
Thank you so much. I like the fact that there's a psychological inclination to it. Because I think that also reveals the quality of a person has to be able to easily drift. There's a part where you talk about drifting, and
Yes.
there's also that. There's also that example you mentioned about you being honored or proposed to be honored as a polio champion. In the culture where title and accolades and award and recognition is so high, it will take a lot of mental resilience for one to say, no, 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 no. Thank you very much. I don't want to be recognized as such. Unlike, let's say, someone who is driven by the ego, the accolade. Probably they want to do it in a nice hotel, bring in the media, write it on newspaper, blow the trumpet like, oh, Professor Kingsley, champion of polio, and all those things that come with it. I like that example where you be like, you have to ask yourself, is this really what I want? Do I want my career to be, I'm not going to say messed up, but more like start confusing people. Am I in psychiatry? Am I in epidemiology? Am I in, I don't know. What was it that was going through your mind that made you arrive at that conclusion, sir?
Well, I just know that I already have interest in many things, and I've been able to over the years been able to pull everything together, and so everything I talk about, I talk from the direction of mental health or the mind. So when we are now talking about polio, it's going to dilute who I am. It's going to give people confusion. So what do they want to call me for? My pediatrician or what? So I just thought that, with the concept of specialization, the more specialized you are, the more you'll be able to earn more and get things done more. Even though in the overall things, they will still talk about being a generalist, being a specialist, then eventually being a generalist again. But you must be known for something rather than trying to be jack of all trade, master of none, although they say it's still better than master of of one. So that was the mindset that I had, not to be focused, not to spread myself thin and eventually discover that I'm not even effective in any.
Thank you
I
so
hope you
much,
are
sir.
hearing me.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right.
Thank you so much. That stood out for me too. This would be a good time for us to unmute, just in case someone has something to add, a question, a comment. Professor Kingsley is still around. You can raise your hand and unmute yourself. Probably there's a question on your mind or a scenario you would like Prof to think about. But overall, it has been a wonderful session, sir. Thank you so much for agreeing to share your time with us. I know that from what you do, your schedule can be quite um, busy, but thank you for the opportunity of allowing us learn from your experience. And thank you for the many case studies you have shared with us. We are very grateful, sir. Thank you. Okay, we will move forward with, we just have one more speaker and we call it a day. I will just make this quick announcement, seeing that we are discussing a lot about our well-being mentally, our mental well-being. Is it possible for me to share my screen, Seka admin? Correct, is it possible for me to share my screen? Yes, so for those who would like to know more about how the mind works and the connection it has with your productivity, your resilience, your personal fulfillment, managing people, working well with people, we have a very important certification course coming up in June, and it's called the Emotional Intelligence and Anger Management Combined Certification course. Already, people are picking up slots. It goes for 500,000. It started June 17th to the Sunday 21st. It's important that you join this session because we'll not just deal on emotional intelligence, but we'll also look at how it affects us as everyday people. How do you work with it on the job? What's this application at home? And several things around emotional intelligence and, of course, anger management. So it's important that you try as much as you can to be in that class. We are offering a flexible payments plan for people who will like to be in that class. It's happening in June, so you still have April and May and the first part of June to work towards it. So get in touch with Seka Africa. We have a payment plan that we can offer you and help you start that journey. It is important that you take your learning seriously, particularly in this space. If you remember what our first speaker hammered on, the ability to understand the Gen Z and be ready to work with them. That's a whole lot of conversation. And you saw the interest that it generated. Emotional intelligence is one of those components that can help us do that. And of course, you see Professor Kingsley hammering more on self-awareness, understanding who you are, and all of those things that go through. So these are all components of emotional intelligence, and you see it play out here and there. So this is that time for you to make that consideration. Emotional intelligence and anger management combined certification course is starting in June, and it's starting June 17th to Sunday 21st, 2026. Ensure that you register. The details are in the chat section. Please contact Seca Africa, get in touch with us, start picking up your slot now. We have a payment plan that can help you pay up if before that day, assuming you do not have the 500,000 at the moment. You can start with something now, and then we spread it across just to make sure that you get into that class. It's important, and please consider that. Okay, at this point, we will have a 3 minutes break so that we can stretch our legs, so that we can grab some coffee, so that you can drink some water, just something to help release the stress, perhaps. You've been sitting all day. By 12 noon, we'll be back and we will be wrapping up with the final session. He is a life coach. Okay, he's a life and behavioral coach. So that is another space you would like to know something about. And I'm not going to preempt him, but I believe that his session would be an eye opener. So I will be back at 12 p.m. for the next session. Please take this time to walk around and let's get back to the session at 12 p.m. Thank you very much.